will tell you 30 luxury brands. Some of their products are made in China. Ralph Lauren, Armani, Nike, Dior, Lululemon, Apple, Michael Kors, Coach, Calvin Klein, Prada, Celine, Swarovski, Adidas, The North Face, Rimowa, Levi's, Burberry, Versace, Chanel, Cartier, Ferragamo, Timberland, Yves Saint Laurent, Victoria's Secret, Puma, Uniqlo, Disney, Max Mara, Givenchy. The producing cost is only 1/10 of its price. Can you believe it?
There's nothing a Chinese factory can't make. Brooks Brothers, a premium shirt brand from the States, actually produce most of their products all in China. One of their largest suppliers is actually based in Guangdong in China. Interesting, the scale of the factories in this region specifically, they're not massive, but all of them are willing to invest heavily in research and development. For example, the world's first long-stable cotton gene sequencing product was completed here. Factories from this region are beloved by those world top brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Lacoste, Hugo Boss. Recent years, with the rise of emerging manufacturing countries like Vietnam and India, many might think that Guangdong's shirt industry might get impacted. But that's not the case, at least for now, because Guangdong's niche market is only for those middle to high-end markets like Europe and America. With its technological advantages, it will remain as a significant barrier.
It ain't no way we've been getting finessed like this, y'all. And China just exposed it all. So boom, Americans out here dropping 800, 1,200, and even 4,000 and more on designer clothes, thinking it's all luxury, all high quality clothes, the high end stuff. But China just pulled the curtain back and showed the world that most of the stuff is made in the same factories with material that costs a fraction of the price. So we're talking shoes that cost $30 to make, but it's being sold in US for $700. And we're talking hoodies that cost $10 to make, that's being sold for over $300. And jeans that cost $50 to make, that's being sold for $500 to $1,000. That's not high end. That's robbery. Y'all, and this is the crazy thing. This is not even new. A lot of people just been blind to it. They think it just because it got a fancy label, that means it costs more. In reality, that just means the markups is better. China basically said, here y'all go. Now y'all better act like you know. And now everybody mad. They not mad at China. They mad at the brands that been overpricing this stuff they've been buying. They mad at the brands that they've been worshiping. See a sucker, lick a sucker, no diddy. They seeing now, they were never buying quality. They were buying status. And they finally waking up. All of this happened because of this tariffs. People would have never knew. Or some people was really too blind to even notice the fact. But now everything is front and center for everybody to see.
Do you recognize this style, this bag? Of course you do. For the past more than 30 years, we have been the OEM factory for most of the luxury brands around the world. Gucci, Prada, Coach, Louis Vuitton, you name it. But for this, I am not proud because we were only making our wages. The profit margin for the people who are actually making the bags are very low. What I'm really proud of is that first, we have the best quality control. Two, we have the best craftsmanship. You know, Chinese craftsmen are always intelligent and diligent. Three, we have the most complete supply chain. We always get what we want, like zippers, accessories of any kind, any color, and leathers immediately. Now, as the USA and its little European brothers are trying to refuse Chinese goods, don't you think luxury brands are not trying to move their OEM out of China? Yes, they did, but they failed. Because the OEM factories out of China, they don't have good quality control and they don't have as good craftsmanship. Their workers are either too expensive or too lazy. Three, they don't have any supply chain. They always have trouble getting leather or zippers or any accessories. That is why they failed, and that is why we will always be the best OEM factory for luxury brands. Why don't you just contact us and buy from us? You won't believe the prices we give you.
The luxury industry is being exposed online by Chinese manufacturers, but will this be enough for consumers to realize that they are mostly paying for the brand name and not always the actual value of the item?
Probably should have took this app away when they had the chance, because the Chinese manufacturers just hit them folks with the Uno reverse. And right now, the Chinese manufacturers are the best content on TikTok. They said, oh, tariffs, you say? Oh, okay. American people, y'all said y'all like New Balance, Adidas, Nike, bet. Oh, yeah. The manufacturer is such and such, located at such and such in Guangzhou. They do shipping within this time, and here are the products. I've seen the manufacturers for every brand anybody could possibly think of, from shoes and apparel to beauty products. One of the Chinese manufacturers said, oh yeah, you know how you pay such and such $100 for Chanel beauty products? Well, we only make them for $10. Listen, I don't know how this tariff thing is going to play out, but the way that the Chinese manufacturers are playing their hand, absolutely well done. 10s across the board. I told y'all in the years that I lived in China, I got everything under the sun because everything is pretty much made there. So to see people learning about the actual quality that's in China, because not everything is made cheaply, and learning about websites like Taobao, y'all better get to getting while the getting is good.
$10, $10, and $10. Always $10. We have 7 colors. Look, app card, brown, pink, green, black, and coffee. This is warehouse. If you need, please contact me.
Going down the DH gate rabbit hole, especially with all the tariffs going on, and seeing the ungodly amount of money I've spent on designer over the years has me pissed. As a former sneakerhead, I guess maybe I still am, but we used to look down on people that would buy DH gate shoes because they're not real and you could only wear real shoes. And then getting into designer, where I've bought so much Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior, all of these big brands, that we kind of look down on people that will buy fake, what we consider fake from DH gate. And now to find out that stuff is the same stuff that I could have been buying for $100, but I spent $2,000 on it, this makes me sick. I knew I should have put that money into an investment property or something to make me money, but I just wanted to stunt. Now I'm gonna be living by what I tell my clients, to not worry about designer. Put that money into real estate.
The Chinese takedown of luxury goods is wild right now, because luxury goods are a huge source of soft power for the West. Soft power is power through things like culture, music, even language. Like US TV shows, that's a form of soft power, because it makes the US aspirational and desirable in some ways. So with luxury brands, Fendi, Prada, Gucci, these Birkins, it creates this aspiration for the West, or aspiration to be European in a way, showing that Europe is this gold standard of quality. But when China's revealing that 80% of anything you buy that's Gucci is made in China, that over 60% of anything that you buy from Prada is made in China, that the only difference is that they send it over to Europe and then they stitch on a made in France or made in Italy little label. It's the ultimate pulling the curtain on the wizard in The Wizard of Oz and showing that there actually is no real magic and power in the person who's controlling Oz. I think it's going to be really interesting because there is such a stigma of something that's made in China. There's this perception of lesser quality in the West, but when you reverse that paradigm, when you show that all these goods that you thought were better because they came from Italy or France or wherever, when actually, in actuality, it comes from China, you're forcing consumers to reckon with why they make choices. So if consumers are going to start questioning the perceived worth of luxury goods, consumers are going to then realize that luxury brands are just high markup middlemen. They're just peddling an idea of something versus an actual quality good. And you can just then cut them out and go to the source. And so I think what China is doing right now, by shifting this perception of soft power, by taking back soft power, by showing real power in infrastructure and manufacturing, we're going to see a real flip in a lot of things, whether it comes to labor market, whether it comes to manufacturing, whether it comes to who buys luxury goods, and perception of luxury as well. And so, I don't know, I'm just in it for the ride here.
Your Chanel cosmetics, 80% are made in China and cost only $5. They just add the logo in France and charge you 10 to 40 times the price. Close your eyes. If your Chanel cosmetics says made in China, will it feel cheaper? It's not about quality, it's about brand brainwashing. Interesting fact, who makes Chanel cosmetics, 42% are crafted by Chinese artisans. We don't do cheap goods, we do understand luxury.
I know for a fact that if my name wasn't written on the side of this bag and I wore this out and about, somebody would think that it's Celine. They would think it's Givenchy. They would think it's a French brand. Now, I have a French taste, but I ain't crazy, all right? I'm not going to have much made there because I already know how it's going to go. So I make my goods in China because I want to be able to give my consumer a more competitive price. And I know that's the place that I can do that. But it has nothing to do with being cheap. If you are a good designer, you know great quality, and you are good enough at your technical design, you can make the same thing. I have gone to China 3 to 4 times a year for 10 years straight. Now I only go about once a year, but every single trip that I have ever taken, I walk away with a wealth of knowledge all the time. And the first thing that I've always noticed about the Chinese culture is that they are incredibly into details. Every small, minute thing mattered. Once upon a time, I used to design glass ornaments, and I loved it. I thought it was the most fascinating thing ever. And when I was visiting this factory, I fell in love with the artistry of glass making. It really is like nothing else. And I remember thinking to myself, we could never be America, a mass manufacturing country like this, because we don't have enough people that actually care to learn the art form. It's not just a job. You actually need to be a creative person, but I digress. So anyway, I'm in this factory and I look over and I see these master cartons stacked up to the left and they all say Dior. And I thought, like Dior? Then I look over to the right and I see these little white boxes. And on the side of the white boxes, it says Christian Dior Paris. And I said, what is this? And she said, oh, Karika, that is for Christian Dior. It's our client. I said, you're what? And she said, yes, we make ornaments for Christian Dior. They give them away as gifts, holiday gifts. And I was like, really? That is so interesting. Because they're going to be out here talking about we are the best, we're up here, blah, blah, blah. But then you're utilizing Chinese labor and you lie and don't tell people.
I thought it was common knowledge that luxury items aren't that expensive to make. Like, you're really just paying for the brand of it all. It's like how much worth people are putting into the brand itself and giving it like the status of being luxury. And like if a company comes out and prices their bags at a certain price point and says we're a luxury brand, even though it costs $50 to make whatever they sell it for $50,000, it is the people putting the worth of that brand into the brand. It's like how $1 is literally just a piece of paper. Like, it literally is just a piece of paper. And it's not even a sturdy one. Like, other countries have sturdy bills. But we have so much, like, worth in this dollar. We put so much worth into the dollar. So it means so much. And it means, like, everything. But at the end of the day, it's a piece of paper. It's the same thing with these luxury brands. Like, yes, it's a nice bag. And, it, you know, yay. It was $50,000, but it cost them $200 to make from beginning to end. So you're just paying for like the branding and like the little medallion that's on the luxury item. That's really all it is. Seriously.
Want to know who really makes Zara's clothes in China? Let me expose their key suppliers. First, shoes. Their footwear are mainly produced by Yuanli Tongshu. For clothes and jackets, they are most produced by Tongli Clothing. Interestingly, they are also proved a supplier for H&M. Now, you know the truth behind Zara's tag.
Are you looking for jewelry supplier from China? Bracelets $2, earring $1, necklace $2, bros $2. This is my jewelry warehouse in Yiwu City. No middleman, no commission. 20,000 kind starting at $1. Follow Mark, make money.
Oh, wait, let me get this straight. For years, we've been called conspiracy theorists about big corporations just slapping the Made in America or Made in France logos on everything. And all of these products were actually made in China. And now, Chinese manufacturers, they are straight up exposing them. Posting videos, receipts, factory floor footage, it's all out there. Turns out that $800 handbag, that luxury artisan cookware, yeah, that all costs $7 to make in China. Your favorite woke corporation, they just slap their logo on it and sell it back to you for 100 times the regular price. And here's the kicker. The same corporations are out here crying about Trump's tariffs, claiming it would ruin business. No, what ruined business is out here lying to Americans while outsourcing jobs, exploiting labor, and, well, pretending to be premium brands. Now, the Chinese manufacturers, they are cutting the middleman and they are going straight to the source, the American people. Yes, you have to order in bulk, like 100 plus units. They're offering the transparency in the US that corporations are refusing to give. Here's the truth. Trump's tariffs, they didn't hurt the American consumer. They hurt globalist corporations who are overcharging Americans, all while profiting off of huge profits by cheap labor. And now they're getting exploited by the very factories they exploited themselves. If you're a small business owner, this is your moment. You can work directly with suppliers, you can build your own brand, and cut all the corporate snakes out of the equation. Just know what you're doing, because not everything is worth buying in bulk. But hey, the opportunity's there, right? Tariffs didn't fail, greed did. And Trump warned us. Now it's all coming to light.
Hello from China. Let me show you the United States products in my home. Nothing. Do you have something from China in your home?
That one stung. He went there. I know your FYP has been flooded by Chinese manufacturers giving you the inside scoop on the cost of goods, especially luxury goods. 50% of cameras, 30% of air conditioners and TVs, 25% of washing machines, and 20% of refrigerators in the world is now being produced and assembled in China. China makes half of the world's cement and flat glass, and about a third of its aluminum. It's true what that creator said. Just look around in your house. I'm willing to bet most of your belongings have been made in China. Do I have anything that's made in the US? And if you've been paying attention to Exposed Talk, almost 80% of luxury goods come from China. Slap a luxury label on there and the value goes up 10 times. Factories telling us $30,000 Hermes bags cost $1,500 to make. Your typical store item costs 20 cents. Guys, we picked the wrong fight.
Even though there are a lot of manufacturers coming out and a lot of people are saying that this is the end of the luxury industry. How true is this? And is there more to the story that meets the eye? Let's hear different perspectives.
I'm so confused because Hermes clearly purports that all of their bags are handmade in France and their watches are made in Switzerland. In their verbiage, there is no room for confusion about where their products are manufactured. There's no room for China. But in the beginning of that video, that nice Chinese man is clearly standing in front of what appear to be Hermes bags, saying that these are the bags that we manufacture. I noticed he didn't say Hermes when he called out all the brands like Prada, Louis Vuitton, Coach. But the implication was very clearly there. And if Hermes products, specifically their bags, are made from beginning to end in France, why would their valuation drop with the news that Chinese manufacturers are spilling the tea? It says right here on their website, the vast majority of our products are manufactured in France. And they talk about sourcing cashmere from Mongolia, blah, blah, blah. But absolutely nothing about China. And those purses that man was standing in front of were identical to Hermes bags, correct? So does that mean Hermes is lying to us? At least lying by omission? Or are their bags beginning to end manufactured, designed, whatever, in France? I'm so confused.
I am seeing so many videos on TikTok recently after all this tariff stuff that's been happening from warehouses in China, basically like exposing luxury brands, basically accusing a lot of brands like even Hermes, Chanel, Louis Vuitton of buying bags from Chinese factory and then shipping them to France, stamping them, putting their label on it, and that's why they're able to say made in France. But basically what these videos are saying is that these bags are the same as the ones that you're getting in China, basically, things like that. I don't know if y'all have been seeing these videos, but they have been heavily on my feed. I'm in shock that those videos are like running. because it's just not, like, it's blatantly not true. And I find it really scary that people are like just believing that, because I feel like it seems a little skeevy to me, because I feel like they're taking advantage of a vulnerable, like, I think there's a lot of like anger in the US right now, you know, and like confusion. I think the tariffs conversation is confusing to a lot of people, including myself. Like, but I think everyone's pretty much on the same page. It's a mess. It's a bad thing. And so I feel like all these videos are kind of taking advantage of this like confusion and anger and like pushing misinformation as a result, because it's just not true. I'm sorry. Like, Hermes bags are not made in China. Like, you can actually, there have been multiple interviews and stories, media reports of people visiting the workshops. Now, some of the materials might be sourced in China, like the zippers, like, you know, I don't know, but that could be true. But what they are saying about Hermes and Chanel is not true. And it's really funny because, like, actually I was working on something related to this whole conversation a while ago. So I was really heavily researching the industry in China. And it's like, again, I'm not someone that's going to shame someone for participating in that side, but I don't think it's right to like be spreading misinformation or like go in ignorantly, because at the end of the day, like, it is an unregulated industry, and so it benefits from crime and like dangerous like traffic type of stuff. Like, look into it. And it's interesting because if you have to like text these people on WhatsApp, which I feel like shows that it's not, you know, whatever. Like, the way of acquiring the really one-to-one bags is sketchy. And there's Reddits about this, and the one-to-one, they're never one-to-one. Like, they might be really, 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 really close. And I think there is a conversation worth having about the price of luxury, but to think they're the same, like, it's believing misinformation, and that scares me.
The bags come from China, but the leather comes from Nigeria. The bags are manufactured in China, but the leather, the exotic skins, the snake skin, the alligator, it comes from Kano, Nigeria. Come on in, let's talk about it. Yes. Because I love that the Chinese manufacturers are coming on here and asserting that they are producing these luxury bags and luxury goods, but also Black people have a hand in that manufacturing by way of tanneries in Kano, Nigeria. So a tannery is an institution, a business in which you are converting animal products like skins, leather, suede, alligator skins, snake skins, all kinds of exotic skins into textiles so that they can be used for goods, clothing, bags. And Kano, Nigeria is world headquarters for this practice. And they have long since been headquarters for hundreds of years. So I interviewed during the pandemic a man named Winston, and he leads a business out of Kano, Nigeria called Winston Leathers. And they are actually a third generation tannery. So he confirmed that his tannery produces leather goods and exotic skins for brands like LVMH, so Louis Vuitton's portfolio of brands, Ralph Lauren, many other luxury brands. And I interviewed him on Twitter. I'll link to that thread so you can go back and read it. But yeah, he shared that this practice of providing exotic skins to the world, but specifically to China, goes back to the Silk Road, when traders in Mali were providing leather goods up through Morocco and on into Asia. Moroccan leather is known for its quality, and Winston actually shared that Moroccan leather can be traced back to Kano, Nigeria, and it's actually Kano leather. So I love all the conversation that Chinese manufacturers have started around like amplifying that those goods are produced and manufactured in China. I want to go a layer deeper and talk about how Black people are actually contributing to the manufacturing as well, because the leather goods and the exotic skins that make up those bags that they're putting together in China actually started on the continent of Africa, in Nigeria. Okay.
Now that the Chinese manufacturers are coming out and spilling the beans on all the secrets about how they're the ones that actually make and manufacture the luxury goods and how much they should actually cost, there's one more secret that I feel like every single American needs to know. So, you know, the stereotype that things from China are cheap and low quality, that was actually never true. China has always had, for decades now, the most advanced manufacturing facilities in the entire world. So where did this come from? It came from the fact that there's a whole bunch of middlemen in America, billionaires, FBA bros, everyone that would just go to China and purposely try to get the lowest quality, cheapest product they could ever find, and then come over and sell it at a premium price. And that's why we have this idea that all things made in China are cheap and shitty. Like in China, you can go over and buy a pair of shoes for like $1, and that's going to be the equivalent of like the cheap Chinese shoes that they sell over here for $20 or $30. But in reality, like they actually have a pair they sell for $12 that's like supreme quality, that is like nothing we have over here. They just don't want to import that pair because then that takes up too much of their money. Like this whole time, China has been making good shit. It's just like we didn't know that because of propaganda, and they want to scam us.
Real designer and DHgate are not the same. I don't know what the Chinese are trying to sell y'all right now, but you cannot convince me that they are the same. Y'all be like, oh, they're made in the same factory. Let's talk about it. These Gucci Bloom slides are a classic. I had them for years and years and years, y'all. I left one at the airport one time because I was running to the gate. Didn't realize it until I was already gone. At the time, I had a bunch of fashion videos going viral because I was recapping the wardrobe from the show Power Book 2. Cool. DHgate was emailing me down every single day. 10, 11, 12 emails from DHgate. So I finally was like, you know what? Let me have y'all send me something so I can see what the quality is like, because I'm not going to just post anything. I said I will let people know it's from the fence, but let me go ahead and test the quality out and see what it's like first. I had them send me what? Replacement Gucci Bloom slides. Now, if you don't know anything about designer, you could probably be convinced that these are the same, that these are real. But if you know, first of all, the leather. Second of all, this being different than this, crazy. This material, since I don't have my old ones, it's hard for me to show y'all the difference in between these. But if you know, you just know. Those shoes lasted me summer after summer after summer after summer. These, I wouldn't even put on. They're no good. The sizing is off, which is why you never see me post about these. Second thing, these are a real pair of Tory Burch sandals. I got these last year. I was getting ready to go to Vegas. They were $200. I was like, cool, I want to wear these with an outfit in Vegas. Boom, bought these. I love these Tory Burch slides so much. They're so comfortable. They're wide foot friendly. They give everything they need to give. They have structure. They're perfect to me. I was getting ready to go to Florida, and I said, well, before I go to Florida, let me buy the knockoffs. That way I can convince myself to spend another $200 on the real ones. Do y'all know I got these? I'm laughing because please be for real. So the design, whatever, obviously they can't copy the Tory Burch design. I wore these shoes one time. All of the stitching coming out. Second of all, what is this about? Tory don't have these. They have so much slack in these shoes that 3 people's feet could fit in here. So that means you have to grip your toes to these in order for them to not slide off your feet while you're walking. And that is painful because I'm spending so much time doing this that I can't even lift my feet up and actually walk. Unless you're going to just slide your feet and make noise, that's annoying. It was just annoying. Now y'all are telling me these are made in the same factory, but what it's not giving is the same. If they are made in the same factories by all the same people and they're just shipped to different stores, why is the quality so different? Obviously, if you're going to shop DH, go ahead. I'm not shaming that. I'm just saying you can't convince me that the quality is the same. Like, they can get it to look similar, but...
I don't want to ruin the party, but you're not beating capitalism by cutting out the middleman. And this one's going to be a call out for myself as well. Or rather, a call in. A lot of people are getting excited on TikTok because China is allowing their manufacturers to come onto this app and are showing you how they take a $3 bag and how it gets turned into a $3,000 bag by adding a logo. And naturally, this has us all thinking, well, if I can go straight to the source, why am I paying all this money? And it honestly just shows us that what we've been paying for isn't necessarily quality. It is more about branding, marketing, and perception. So on one hand, I do think it's good to see this illusion lose some of its power. But I've seen some people say this is a win for the people, and I want to slow that down just a little bit. Because honestly, this isn't some type of justice, it's a type of strategy. And China knows that this hits at a lot of Western brands. And during a trade war, it's leverage. This isn't being done out of solidarity, it's business. Even if we cut out the middleman, we're not cutting out the system. And look, this isn't about calling anybody out. I've bought way more things than I should have. It's about calling out what's actually going on, because buying direct doesn't mean buying ethically. What I really hope that people take from this moment is not how to shop smarter, but how to think deeper. For me, I'm seeing the crack and I'm saying wider. Get wider. True liberation doesn't come from cheaper goods. It comes when the workers own the factories. It comes when they own the brand, the story. Factories aren't worker co-ops. They still run on a top-down profit-driven system. Finding a deal is cool, okay? I'm not saying that. I love deals. I love finding cheaper goods. But when I say go deeper, I'm thinking, why do we need all this stuff in the first place as I sit here with all these clothes? I'm guilty of it too. I'm not in some superior seat than you. And honestly, if we're serious about liberation, it can't stop at cheaper access.
The answer is yes and no. Some of these places in China are making your favorite luxury handbag. Do I think they're making all of them? No. But are they making some of them? Yes. And I've talked about this for years. So many of my videos got flagged, and it is what it was. But a lot of your favorite brands, especially at an entry point, so think of like the canvas material, think of the Dior Jacquard book tote, think of stuff like that that is not like a leather or an exotic or anything like that, or like crystals with or even hand embellishments. Probably it was made in a factory somewhere, and then they just shipped it over to wherever in Italy, France, what have you, to get the last finishing touches on. I think in France, it's like only 10% of the bag has to be made in France to put the stamp on it, made in France. And usually that's the last thing. So think maybe hardware or, you know, rivets, zippers, the last final stitches of a handle, stuff like that. At a kind of mid-tier to higher tier level, they're probably sending things back and forth. The True Cost of Fashion, great documentary to watch to kind of get started understanding production. But you would have farmers who would raise the animals that were going to be used for leathers or exotics that weren't being paid fairly, that would ship them over to Italy, where they would have these refineries, tanning refineries, where they would have a big population of like North African immigrants that were there, sometimes illegally, and they would hold their passports, and they would then refine the leathers. Some of them would get hurt. This one guy, I think, in the documentary, he got hurt, and they almost deported him. He didn't even get like proper time off, almost didn't get proper care, because they didn't stop the factory that day. They just sent him to go get handled. I don't even know if they took him to the hospital, but he almost got deported. And then they sent it back to China to get refined and ready to have everything either sewn together or to have their finishing touches go back, sent it back to Italy, got the finishing touches, and then sent it to the department store or boutique, whatever. The point is, it's not just, okay, we get these materials, we put it together. Maybe for like Hermes bags, and I think it was Brunello Cucinelli said specifically, they do their items, products specifically in Italy. But a lot of these places, especially if you're looking at LVMH, in my opinion, a lot of these places on an entry point are making like factory bags. This is part of the conversation that people have been having with Chanel specifically, and the fact that the quality of Chanel bags has gone down. From the quality of items and materials, like them not using gold anymore, to like the poor stitching, to that slanted like mini Kelly that people were pointing out. All I'm saying is that some of these brands are doing that. It's to the point of, what is the extent? Is it the $3,000 canvas bag, or is it the like $25,000 exotic leather? And again, I don't think they're gonna waste, in my opinion, exotics on a machine for a machine to get it wrong multiple times over. I think that is something that's hand done. But if the cost to throw it out, which I think it's like 20% of all like luxury handbags for Louis Vuitton, like that's their margin of error, which is 40% over in the Louis Vuitton factory in Texas, which is interesting, but that's not the point right now. Like these factories building this stuff, that a lot of it at the entry point, a lot of it is getting done. Now, are all of these people being honest? That's the question. Are we seeing someone directly affect with Americans and their perception of luxury and wealth that isn't just going to affect America, but how people in these European countries see it? Because it is kind of it's a double-edged sword for their opponents. Yeah, we should talk about that.